Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today is another reading sesh of me reading my writing works. And if you do enjoy, drop a like, maybe even subscribe. Please don't. I don't think my anxiety can handle such a thing. Uh, Without further ado, let's get into the reading sesh. Hope you enjoy. So the first story that I'm going to read is titled The Not Apostle. Here we go. Oscar sits on the edge of the building's rooftop, his legs dangling freely off the edge. The wind makes the leather boots he is wearing sway side to side ever so slightly, in contrast to his dark bronze hair which flows like tides lit by the full moon above. The night is rather cold in the winter. The thick synthetic winter jacket and the two pairs of pants he is wearing do keep his body somewhat warmer than without them. He looks down at his hands. His right hand is wearing a leather glove that has grown a patina, yet is overlooked for its old and worn appearance. Micro cuts and stretch marks litter the glove. His other hand, however, is bare and naked. Oscar starts to feel the winter weather sapping the heat off his skin, leaving a tingling pain. He clenches his hands in his he clenches his hand into a fist in response. His gaze wanders up the crook of his arm, where the worn, stretched, and faded woolen cuff of the jacket is rolled up to. In the nook of the cuff, he spots some dried remnants and picks at it with his gloved finger. The remnants crumble and fall off, presuming it to be dried blood. Oscar brushes the rest off his cuff, unbothered. The cold pain forces him to hide his bare arm into his jacket, away from the cold winter winds and in the warmth of his body heat. He looks back to the landscape, the view of multiple city blocks dilapidated and in complete disarray. Multiple floors caved in, walls missing, and the streets littered with rubble. Yet underneath it all, there are still people, living and surviving this new apocalypse. From the height of the roof, he only sees the people as greyish blobs, masses of people moving about. He sighs, and a plume of smoke follows his breath. His mind wanders, and his eyes stare blankly at the ground far, far away from him, until he hears something that jolts him to his senses. He quickly fixes the hood of his jacket to cover the collar on his neck better, before quickly turning towards the noise. It's the sound of footsteps coming from the stairwell. Oscar places his gloved hand on his handgun holstered on his belt, readying himself for a less than friendly interaction. With each step he hears, his grip tightens, and his eyes narrow. He sees a figure just on the edge of the last few steps. They are holding their left hand up in a gesture to mean no harm. A few seconds more, and Oscar realizes who that figure is. It's Joseph. He tells Oscar to calm down. His Eastern European accent is unmistakable, coupled with his indifferent and relaxed tone. His eyes scan the rooftop, then his gaze return back to Oscar. So, the unfortunate part about this is that this is technically a failed working. I kind of wrote halfway through and decided, you know what? I don't want to write this anymore. And that's exactly what happened, where I just decided to stop writing this. Even though I kind of felt I've had like this idea about this where this would have been a little bit more extended. I would have liked to. My further idea was to show that Yosef knows about the collar on Oscar and is actively trying to find ways to, well, get it off of him. For I'll spoil it, where Oscar is sort of like a slave in the world that I sort of planned that this kind of short story would have been, or a single page slash 2 page short story would have been in a world where there's people who are called shadows with, I would say, occult like abilities. And in this apocalypse, they have basically stolen the technology that the old government used to keep these people in check and use them for to enslave these so-called shadows, and Oscar, being one of them, was a former slave of that system, where Yusuf saved him and is now trying to get the collar off of him. The issue is, since the collar is old government tech, he has to find the necessary tools and, or in this case, if I thought about it, was a battery, if I'm not wrong, because it was focused on the fact that, oh, it's an electromagnet collar, and electromagnets are activated when there's no power, and is sort of opened when there is power, if I'm not wrong. I don't know, maybe I'm like thinking the wrong things, but that's how I remember it. And that would have been nice. Usually most of these short single page or two page short stories are kind of like my entrance, or like the would have been like the prologue or the introduction to a whole chaptered story, kind of like my other one, Hesitation, but that one became more fully fledged. This would have been nice to write a little bit more, but I just decided, no, I don't want to write anymore, and that happened. So I'll move on to my next one, actually, which is way more shorter. It was meant to be a just a small. I guess it, if I'm not wrong, the prompt was horror, but also it was just meant to kind of have a very short hooking like um effect. So if you're not into horror, maybe you don't want to listen to this, but this doesn't have a title, by the way. Oh, no, it does. The title is The Depths of Darkness. I'm I don't know why, but I always like to title my works. It's just fun. Most people I know just title it as, oh, uh prompt this, or writing work for this prompt. But I just fucking title it and then in the email or in this in the thing that I have to send, I just say like, oh yeah, this for this. All right. Without further ado, the next story. The Depths of Darkness. What lurks within the depths of darkness? The question ran through Clement's mind as he huffed at the air around him anxiously, while staunching his bleeding hand with a crude bandage. The trail of blood left behind led from his feet to the darkness beyond the hallway he sat in front of. A labyrinth of snarls, howls, and heavy footsteps. His breaths became shallower by the second. His eyes locked on the darkness in front of him. He hears a labored breathing echoing from the dark. His eyes go wide as two pinprick eyes shine from the dark. He begs. He begs the dark, the sound, the beast within the dark. Before he hears his death bell, 1,000 damned souls roar out and rejoice as another will join them. The dark lunges at him. The labyrinth is filled with the sounds of Clement's screams and his body being torn limb from limb. And another is damned to the dark depths of the labyrinth. Now, that was a short one, and I just barely gave it any thought because um, I just didn't really care for this one. And the prompt was, the necessary requirements was quite short, so I just decided to do this. It's not really impressive, I would say. It's alright. Uh, the inspiration for this was Amnesia, the bunker, where you can see there Clement's mind. Because I remembered watching a playthrough or like a video essay. I like video essays, by the way. I watched a video essay, and the sort of clip they showed was very haunting. Of essentially, the clip is what I'm describing in this, essentially, where it was just a long hallway of the ambience, the breathing, the creaking of the bunker, and the slow, heavy, and labored breaths of the monster, just roaming about in the labyrinth, in the bunker, essentially. And that was just very. It had a very strong impact on me of like it put the fear into my soul of just hearing that. And I will say, Amnesia, the games, I really like them as a game. I would not play them because I'm too much of a. Well, I'm too scared to play them. I'm just not, like, good with horror. I never really do good with horror. Okay, well, seems like I've chosen very short um stories, and I do have another one, which is this, which is called Dark is the Night, is the title, so let's get into it. In the night of the winter hellscape, the harsh winter winds blow, engulfing everything in its cold touch, including a small village, or what is left of one. The houses and cottages of this one was burnt down, logs and planks charred. The comfort that was once here is gone. In its place, only ashes remain. But among the rubble, a child no older than a mid-teen is limping in the cold, his labored breathing making a plume of smoke to form in front of him. His body, from his head to his toe, is shivering, including his right hand, which is dragging a sword too large for him as he limped, a sword that is covered in frozen blood. His eyes focused on the landscape in front of him, searching for more people to kill. The same people who burnt down his village, his home. With the village devoid of life and lights, he feels how dark the night can be without the comfort and warmth of his house. He feels how cold the wind can truly blow in these nights. A gust of wind pushes against him. He staggers for a bit, but the rage inside him will not relent. One, his raspy voice grunts out. One more. He sees the silhouette of something moving in the dark. His rageful eyes come alive. Another life to pay the blood debt. He limps towards the figure. As he limps closer, he sees two sharp lights that resemble eyes. They get closer, the sound of heavy footsteps following it. The child readied himself, sure of his fate. If death is coming, then let him take one more bastard soul with him. When the footsteps sounded close, the eyes towered over him, he swung his sword overhead with a loud, guttural shout. The sword hits its target, but instead of flesh being cut and the screams of agony being uncorked, the sword hits metal and is stuck in place. The child tugs at the sword futilely, trying to break it free from whatever that had binded it. The child began to struggle more and more, scared of death, scared of being slain like a feral animal. Then a spark is heard, and a light is born into the dark, illuminating the night and the person that he swung at with his sword. It was a towering person, clad in a full suit of armor, a knight, a knight that held the sword's blade in his left gauntlet, and a flare in his right, burning brightly. He knelt down to meet the child's gaze. His menacing, glowing eye slits from his helmet now look compassionate. A calm voice comes through the knight's speakers, or intercom, that I should have said. Child, your people have been rescued by my brothers and sisters. His voice is slightly robotic from the speakers. He looks around the village, searching for more survivors, but there is only one, and that person is standing in front of him. He looks back at the child, his eyes carrying the exact thought in them. Child, do me the honor of reuniting you with your people, he says, releasing the sword and reaching his hand out to the child to comfort him. The child leans into the hand and collapses. The knight gently carries him. In the final moment before passing out, the child realizes that the night is only dark if no one is there to hold the light. Alright, now this work is set in one of my worlds of, well, technically it was a half form world of a winter like frozen place where there are psychics and stuff like that. The knight in this case is inspired by Warhammer 40k's Astartes, where they are mainly heavily inspired by the Grey Knights, psychic Astartes and stuff. This was meant to be sort of a prelude slash again short introduction into what would have been a bigger story, where the child in this would have became the main character in the story. The title for the story was Honor Among the Snow, where the child is now would have been inducted into the night program. Essentially, we would have seen the training, the life of the Northern Knights, and essentially the day-to-day life and the process of becoming a knight, slowly but surely. Now, the main thing that urged or struck the idea for me to write this was this: the night is only dark if no one is there to hold the light. If I'm not wrong, that came from a music lyric or a song lyric from, I think it was a song used in the opening of 86 season 2. Very good anime, by the way. I'm just rambling. And yeah, I would like to say that it's to the people that are creatively in line. I don't know if people are like this, but I am certainly like this, where I can just watch or consume any kind of artistic content and be like, that's a cool idea. I should write about that. I should do something about that. I don't know if anyone else is like that. I know I am. And it's quite fun because it keeps life entertaining, especially for my artistic side. And it kind of allows me to never run out of ideas, but also just write whatever I want to write. Even though I barely write nowadays, considering, well, just priorities in life, it's still fun to write. I enjoy it very much. And I feel like that concludes this reading sesh. I hope you enjoyed. I hope that next time I can not stutter and mispronounce words more. And whatever. Alright, everybody. That's it. Take care. And see you in the next video.